on this lovely 9/11 portal. I know that 9/11 is something different for others, for the Ascension 5D Mystic community and anybody who is within our lovely realm. It's a portal that brings not only spirituality growth, but also enlightenment. So let me begin with a couple of lovely trauma-informed expert quotes, and that's because our relationships are oversoul. The reason a 5D mystic does not follow the 4D people's saga on the whole twin flames, and we don't go around saying it's not true. No, what we already know is we don't need to talk about it, because our oversoul, it's your own relationship. And so a 5D intuitive individual will not be being basically an adaptive child who's in anger mode like 4D does, and venting and spitting out a lot of anger, which really is rumination. It's also structural dissociation, and anger gives this thing of certainty. So they always are accusing another of doing something on purpose. When they use the word, you're manipulating me, you're using some magic woo-woo, whatever it is, that it's not woo-woo because it can't actually take place. Remember that what you believe in is what you're going to surround yourself with. And I know a lot of 4D people who have tarot readers that accurately read them because they're in that bandwidth. That's the point. You choose the bandwidth you want to be in, and it is what it is. So Drama Land, it is actually like the movies. They are navigating life through a sympathetic dorsal vagal. That all depends, because see, it's not a mathematical equation, but they definitely don't learn to use the ventral vagal while they're contemplating. No, in fact, they're not contemplating. What they're doing is rumination again. So it's a biochemistry of fear. The anger gives this idea or actually feeling of certainty. They're going to be in the automatic thoughts that come up, and the images, everything that comes up is going to be with a spiteful tone, angry tone. They're going to accuse someone and la da da da. So leaving to the side those who do not grow up into their functional adult. As Patrick Tiahan, childhood trauma survivor and therapist, says, the people who hurt people can learn that they can do work. The people who are in codependent type relationships can learn to do the work and get out of those. Anyone who has childhood trauma, to the extent of it affecting their relationships, can notice that the emotional body is disconnected and not offline. Any person who's like, oh, I'm a person, I want to grow more relationships, and I want it to be easy, and I see that it can, because I trust the human species, because I'm a human. Here's our 5D collective. I'm a human. I love you. Oversoul, no oversoul, don't matter. Even before knowing about my oversoul, I still love all of my oversoul. And once I got to be in experiences with my mysticism, this is where you're going to get an episode, I forget what date, but I share a lot. It's so beautiful to be, well, one, I should specify, I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. I do have clairs. I do Akashic record readings. I do tarot readings, and I love when it's used to support people, always. And I do not allow anyone to become dependent. In fact, I will notice if somebody is becoming dependent, and I will say, you know, energy is what we are. You are intuitive, are you not? You do know where you're headed, do you not? Okay, you have the power to wield where you want to go. The cards are a medium that inform you. They don't tell you the future. It's not created yet. Let's remember the collective consciousness, your consciousness. Let's navigate what's going on. And I will allow myself to support for real versus continue to allow something that isn't bringing the person something more. Now, what do people that are 4D do when this happens? They go and find their ideal, in fact, tarot reader, and they match. You know, it's actually interesting because, like, I've had people, they tell me, like, everything they say, it always comes true. I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. I'm thinking you don't know how to wield your own future, and somebody else does, which I'm happy for the 4D collective that has their 4D readers, and that's where we're going to leave that. I'm building our 5D community. It's Mystics Functional Adults, so let's get into it. The quote that I wanted to read, and again, Patrick Tiahan, I love that man. I, thanks to him, can interpret and share things that I would not otherwise know how to bring to the table. Because knowing that people have the awareness that their emotional body is disconnected, that I do. Now I can explain it. You're right on, but you're not a problem. You're not broken. Let's get to Terry Real. All trauma is relational, and intimacy is the core. And this title of his video, I need to finish watching it. Your partner cannot fix you. Terry Real helps couples And he trains therapists with his relational mindfulness therapy approach, which I'm taking, although I'm not a therapist. I'm a consultant, I'm a mentor, I'm a content creator, okay? But I support on the personal development journey and Zen master relationships, so 5D mystics or functional adults. 5D is you, oneness consciousness, so integration of the brain. And that also means that you are a restorative embodied self, or you're moving towards it. So you don't use your emotions, you actually create relationships. And you know that if we have an avoidant or a anxious or a fearful avoidant, that we have a person who has an attachment insecurity. They have an attachment wound. They don't have to know about it. You don't need to go teaching them shit. Nope, that's not your job. You be a friend, a loved one, that's it. And you learn to tango, because secure attachment people don't go telling people what to do. That's codependent types. They try to change each other, take care of each other. They're in the same desire of wanting to attach in a certain way emotionally, and some people find it. Other quote, this is from Julianne Taylor Shore, and she's LPC, SLMFT, SCP, all these, they mean things that I don't know. Founder of IPNB, Psychotherapy of Austin. She's awesome. By the way, neurobiology, a little tidbit. So the experiences shape the brain. The brain has a layer on the top part of it called the neocortex. And the neocortex is built up of tons and tons, millions of little columns of 6 neurons in a row. The bottom 2 neurons get their feed, their information, from parts of the brain that are experiencing the here and the now. And the top 2 neurons in the column of 6 get their feed from what you already know in your implicit memory system. And then those 2 columns come together and feed their information into the middle, and that's reality. So she explains this. I might have fucked up the top or bottom, not sure, because it was in one of my courses and I take notes. But she says, there is no time when you would be looking at the present moment without your history being a part of that experience. And if we are not paying attention to the possibility, a couple things are going to happen. The top 2 neurons are going to hold way, and they're more influential in the process than the bottom 2. So more of what you're experiencing right now at this moment, as you're breathing with me, comes from your history than it comes from this moment. And that's why I said I might have confused it. But she's saying the past affects the present. And here's where integration of the brain is important, which is where you don't find it in those who have adaptive child responses, because hurt people who have childhood trauma or a charge state that they're not handling, they're gonna be in their sympathetic with you. And they are not Zen masters. Okay, so this is where I'm not gonna make a whole episode because we got 10 minutes. The psych education was brief. The mysticism stuff is also brief. And the conclusion is that with your relationships and intimacy, this is where you and I, 5D mystic, compassionate Zen masters, like in the Zen tradition story, we, in fact, are okay with making mistakes, which is why we don't make any of them, but it's because we take ownership of them when we make them. That means if I hurt your feelings, I'm going to say I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what you're telling me. It doesn't matter if you're right. Not, we don't care about that. See, functional adults aren't here to say, oh, let me prove I'm right. We don't feel that need because we're self-empowered is what it's called. And so the minute that you and I are in a relationship, and at the core, I have intimacy with you because, of course, as a person who's aware of emotions, anybody who has their 6 basic emotions there, we don't play games. And when we notice somebody playing games, we know they're not playing a game because we're that smart. And that's because we're compassionate Zen masters. We didn't need Sadhguru to say, poof, love comes out. No, love comes out because I'm a human, you're a human. Why would I break your heart when I know what it's like to have a broken heart? This sounds so ridiculous. I mean, I was a child. I still remember like, oh, that really sucks. But I wasn't afraid of it. And so why is you can't heal unresolved trauma or attachment wounds by yourself because we co-regulate. Your attachment system longs to have a relationship with somebody safe haven, safe harbor, secure base. It's because parents are supposed to be launching pads. Unfortunately, we didn't know about the nervous system stuff until now. So now we do. Let's create mindful relationships, and we don't shoo away anybody. We don't ascend and lose people along the way. No, not 5D mystics. The other ones, they can do whatever. The 5D mystics are Zen masters. We're functional adults, and if we're not, we move into it. So that means I can fuck up, you can fuck up. Shit, hug, and love it out. Not become enemies. That's actually movie time for a lot of people, not for us. So your relationships are important, and that 9/11 today, it's about ascension. So go hug your loved ones. we always have those 24 hours to, you know, be kind to each other and be compassionate, and you don't walk in anybody's shoes. So please remember that.